Hello YouTubers, it's me Steven, and thank you for watching. Now, I haven't done a video in quite a long time, but I want to do one right now because this is going to be something that I was studying and also wanted to share this with you because you remember my previous videos. One of them I was talking about was the history of the music in the Middle Ages. And I was talking about the time when the Gregorian chants, they were melismatic and everything, and usually they had no musical accompaniment and largely monophonic. And I mentioned, of course, many different things, but now what I want to talk to you about is something that I'm studying right now. But before I do that, I want to show you this book that I have right here. There you go. This is The Art of Piano Playing by George Kotovitsky. And I got this one while I was still in college. I got this while I was still in Manus. So this is a really good pedagogy book to have. This is the book that it talks about these types of things in a scientific approach. And it's gonna, I mean, it's a lot to take in, but thankfully I got this book for reference. And another one that I have is The Interpretation for the Piano Student. I got this one in a yard sale, I think around last year or something. But it's right here, see Joe and Les, and they will talk to you about how to be able to play a music in a way that it'll sound melodic and all that kind of stuff. And it will also talk about having a tonal balance. And it was all thanks to the invention and development of the pianoforte that made the difference. I will let you know that it was in the year 1709 when the Italian Bartolomeo Cristofori came up with the principle of hammer mechanics, which was applied to keyboard instruments at that time. Johann Sebastian Bach, one of the Baroque composers, he saw one of the first instruments of this type. One of them was by Gottfried Silman. It was around 1726. Bach wasn't satisfied with the instrument because he felt that the pianoforte was incapable of competing with the harpsichord and clavichord. For Bach, it was the fact that the action was hard for him, and he found the treble to be weak. Then comes 1747. When Silverman would show his improved piano et forte to Bach in order to correct his shortcomings. So this time, J.S. Bach, he praised it. He praised it warmly, but it was questionable because this second trial took place in the presence of the King of Prussia on the chord instruments. His son, C.P.E. Bach, and he wrote this in his essay on the true art of playing keyboard instruments. And he said, the more recent pianoforte, when it is sturdy and well built, has many fine qualities, although its touch must be carefully worked out, a task which is not without difficulties. It sounds well by itself and in smaller ensembles. And by the 1770s, finally, the pianoforte would gain approval of composers and performers. They began to pay serious attention to it. Interestingly enough, it was around the year 1770 when Ludwig van Beethoven was born. 1773 comes. 1773 was the year when Muzio Clementi would compose his Sonata Opus 2. It turned out to be the first composition intended for pianoforte and suited to it. Clementi would also indulge in many types of experiments. He would try many technical and coloristic effects, enriching his compositions with the tremolo, with the octave, double third, cross hand, and repeated note passages. And he was also rightfully looked upon as the forerunner of Beethoven, and was also known to be the creator and founder of the piano technique of the 19th century, interestingly enough. So 1777 comes, and I also found out that it was the year when Johann Andreas Stein came up with the pianoforte, and Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, he actually saw the piano. So in a letter to his father, and he was a very young composer at that time, he wrote to his father that his sonata in D major, the K284 one, would come out incomparably better on the Stein pianoforte. So we could see that the pianoforte has been gaining approval of composers, piano performers, and listeners. And this particular recognition, it was accompanied by a long and tenacious struggle between the harpsichord and clavichord and the newly developed pianoforte. And it was all determined by historical developments, as we could see. I've also found out that in Francois Couperin's letter, actually not the letter, but his preface to his book of pieces for the harpsichord, see, it was due to the fact that toward the end of the 18th century, the older keyboard instruments were about to be discontinued. So Couperin, he said this: "I shall be forever grateful to anyone who by infinite art and good taste succeeds in making this instrument, or the harpsichord, capable of expression." So there were several attempts to do that in building keyboard instruments like that, harpsichords. So one of them used a device known as the Venetian swell. The Venetian swell was operating on the same principle as the Venetian blind. And I was seeing that in one of the YouTube videos where there is a harpsichord with the Venetian swell. And what that is that it is a device that has been used to produce crescendo and diminuendo. And performers in doing that, see, when they press the pedal down in the harpsichord, what it does, it will, I would say it would open, and by putting it up, I guess it would close. But the performers of that particular harpsichord, they would open and close louvers with a pedal in order to produce the crescendo and diminuendo, gradual changes in tonal volume. Next thing you know, toward the end of the 18th century, the pianoforte has finally gained the victory. And the production of the older keyboard instruments has been discontinued. The reason for that is because the music during that time had abandoned a lot of aristocratic salons. And music would have to serve a growing new audience. So the keyboard instruments would have to be heard in large halls, and would have to produce a more powerful volume than that of the clavichord and that of the harpsichord. We also hear about gradual crescendo to forte, fortissimo followed by a sudden drop to pianissimo, or even a diminuendo to pianissimo, and many other things like that. So, and that's when it happened that finally the pianoforte has gained a lot of approval and it's become a popular thing. So I just thought I'd share that with you. I wanted to share that invention and development history. So if you want to hear more about this and many other stuff, you can like, subscribe, you can leave the comments below. And I want to thank you all for watching. This is Stephen Kopp, and I'm signing out. God bless you, and take care.